Welcome to the Faith Infusion Learning to Please God podcast. I'm your host, Bishop Larry Jackson. We're here to help you increase your faith, to see the hand of God manifest in your life. It's time to enter in. So let's join the podcast. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am more than excited about the message today. You're going to be very blessed, and I would ask you to share the podcast and like the podcast and comment on the podcast and do everything you need to do. But let me ask you a question. Did you know there are many people who are experiencing need in their lives and they have no earthly idea where it will come from? God is and has always been clear on the fact that to live on the earth in the natural, mankind would need, and mankind would need to be provided for. So from the very beginning, he made provisions for those needs. He did the same when he called Abraham, and he gave him promises. But the thing that God promised Abraham that is many times overlooked is one seed. Not many, but one seed. And that seed is Jesus. When we get Jesus, we get everything. When we get Jesus, everything becomes clearer. When we get Jesus, even the provisions are abundant. So we're going to dive into this, and we're going to look at why did God, in between Abraham and Jesus, give the law to the children of Israel? Well, we're going to learn why he gave the law, and then we're going to learn how faith should work after the law has been given. God gave the law, but now we're going to know how to function in faith. So sit back, enjoy. Again, share. Let somebody know that we're out here. Talk to you soon. Here, as we recap what we've already done, because I'm trying to get over here to chapter 3 over to chapter verse 20. I'm trying to get down there. So stop asking the questions. So watch this. For if the inheritance be of the law, it is no more of promise, but God gave it to Abraham by promise. It says, wherefore then serveth the law? Why was the law given? It says it was added because of transgressions. God gave the law because of the transgressions of man. He said he gave the law because of transgressions until the seed should come to whom the promise was made. And it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator. Okay, now, ordained by angels declared it, but wait a minute. He says the law was given until Christ would come. That Christ would come, the one who was promised would come. He says, then the law would not have any more effect on us. Now we go to Galatians chapter 3, verse 20. When you go to here, now this is where the rubber meets the road. Now a mediator is not a mediator of one, but God is one. Okay, so he says, now this was in the hand of a mediator. He was in the hand of the mediator, and the mediator was God. God is one. He said, usually there's more than one mediator. And so now he says, is the law then against the promises of God? Does the law now reject the promises of God? Not the promise, but the promises of God. Does the law stop God's promises from coming? Paul says, with emphatic strength, God forbid. For if there had been a law given which could have given life, verily righteousness should have been by the law. So he's saying here that there was not any law that man could keep. There was not anything that man could do that would satisfy God so that God would impute righteousness. Because remember, in Romans chapter 4, it is over there in Romans chapter 4, it said, because Abraham believed God, it was accounted to him for righteousness, because Abraham believed God. Abraham believed God, and God imputed. And then that's what Paul says in Romans 4 as well, that it was imputed into his account, that God imputed, God placed in his account righteousness. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Okay, to seek God's righteousness means you must believe God. Why? Because our righteousness is as filthy rags. We do not have an ability to please God in our own ability. The more we're trying to do, the less we please God. Okay, the more we try to do, the less we please God. The less we do, the more we please God. Which means the less. Does that mean I do nothing? James said that can't be true. James said, you show me your faith by your works. He says, I'll show you faith, and I'll show it to you by works. And then I'm telling you not to work. But he's not talking about the works of doing his own thing. He's talking about the works of believing God. The work is in believing God. You know, that's the same thing that takes place in Hebrews chapter 4. Why don't we run over there real quick? You know, I hate to do this because I know how I get stuck with things, but let's go over there. Hebrews chapter 4, and it says, for he that is entered into rest, he has ceased from his own works as God did from his. And then verse 11, it says, let us labor to enter into that rest. Wait a minute now. If I'm resting, why would I labor? Why would I labor if I'm going to rest? Rest is the absence of labor. Now, look at this. You laboring to enter in. Your labor is not doing physical things and trying to do something that God would be happy with. Your labor is to enter into the rest. So if I've got to labor, it is so that I can rest. Why would you labor to rest? Because everything in me want to labor to work. Everything in me want to labor to do. Everything in me want to labor so that I'm seeing, doing, accomplishing. But this labor is to not do anything. I have to labor to take my hands off of it. I've got to labor to trust God. I've got to, it's work to not do anything. It's work to not do. That's amazing. Let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. So he says, you have to labor to enter in. You must labor to enter in. And so when you go back over to Galatians and you see what he says that is the law against the promise of God? God forbid. For if there had been a law given which could have given life, verily righteousness should have come by way of the law. It would have come by way of us doing. We would have been able to do something and righteousness would have been imputed. God would have been satisfied with our doing. But again, without faith, it is impossible to please God. Not without works, not without law. Law and all of that was given as a go-between, so that we could then be the ones in the kingdom that is trusting God, and God can then function through us to do, so that people will be able to see God through us. Did you understand? You understanding that people get to see God through us? How will they see God? Because we're out trying to make things happen? No, because we're not trying to make things happen. We are trusting God to do it. We are saying, God, you can do it. You are the one who will do it. And because you are going to do it, you're going to do it through me, and it's going to look supernatural. It's going to look to anyone looking on, wow, how could that be? How could that happen? What is going on? Because it's going to be outside of the realm of their knowledge base, outside of the realm of them knowing what to do and how to do it. Grace is to give you the abilities of God. Listen to it. So grace is to give you the ability of God. And I said to people this way, that it gives you the ability to do what you know how to do better than you know how to do it. That's what grace does. Grace gives you the ability to do what you know how to do better than you know how to do it. So if you know how to cook, grace allows you to cook better than you can cook, even though you know how to cook. See, if you work in construction, grace helps you to build better than you know how to build, even though you know how to build. So it helps you to be better than you are, even though you know how to do a thing. It gives you the ability to be better than. That's a wrap for this episode of Faith Infusion, Learning to Please God. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your support. It means the world to us. If you enjoyed today's teaching, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps us grow. Got thoughts or questions? We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at bishoplarryjackson.com or drop us a message at breastplateprayer@gmail.com. And don't forget, new episodes drop every Monday at 6 a.m. So hit the follow button and join us next time for more insightful teaching. Until then, stay inspired, walk in faith, and we'll catch you in the next episode.